Every single night you disappear. Not metaphorically, actually. The person who brushed their teeth, worried about tomorrow's meeting, and argued with someone in traffic just vanishes. And in their place shows up someone else, someone who can fly, someone who's back in their childhood home except the hallway leads to their office, someone who's talking to a person who died years ago and it feels completely normal. Then you wake up and somehow you're supposed to just go make coffee like nothing happened. But something did happen. So where exactly do you go when you sleep? And who is that other you, the one running around in there every night? We tend to treat dreams like static, like the brain's screensaver, just random noise while the important stuff powers down. That's the common assumption. But the psychological and neurological reality is almost the opposite. Your brain isn't resting during dreams. In many ways, it's working harder than it does while you're awake, just without you supervising the process. And that distinction, supervision versus no supervision, might be the entire key to understanding where you actually go. Here's what's happening under the hood. During REM sleep, the stage where most vivid dreaming occurs, your brain's emotional centers, the amygdala especially, light up more intensely than during waking life. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic, impulse control, and telling you, hey, that doesn't make sense, goes quiet. That's why you can be chased by a shape-shifting shadow monster through your old school and think calmly, yep, this checks out. Nobody's home to object. It's less like watching a movie and more like being handed the steering wheel of a car with no brakes and no seatbelt, and your emotional brain is the only one driving. Psychologist Rosalind Cartwright spent decades studying dreams and found they're not random garbage collection, they're emotional processing in disguise. Your brain uses the dream state to work through unresolved feelings, replaying fears, hopes, and unfinished conversations in symbolic form, because it's often easier to feel something safely at 3 a.m. in a dream than to feel it directly at 3 p.m. in real life. That recurring dream where you're back in high school, unprepared for a test you didn't study for, that's probably not about school at all. That's your brain borrowing an old, familiar fear shape to talk about a very current anxiety, a presentation, a deadline, a feeling of being caught unprepared for something in your waking life right now. Think of your mind like an actor doing improv every night, except there's no audience and no script, just raw emotional material and a stage built from memory fragments. Some nights it pulls props from your childhood bedroom. Other nights it borrows the face of a stranger from the grocery store and glues it onto someone you love. That's why dreams feel so intensely real and so bizarrely wrong at the same time, because your brain is genuinely improvising meaning out of the leftover scraps of your day, stitched together with your oldest fears and longings. And this is where it gets almost beautiful, honestly. Because dreaming isn't just leftover noise. Some researchers believe it's a rehearsal space. There's a theory called the threat simulation hypothesis, the idea that dreaming evolved partly so our ancestors could practice responding to danger, being chased, falling, confrontation in a low-stakes environment before facing it for real. Your nightmares might not be malfunctions. They might be your ancient nervous system running fire drills, just in case. So who is that other you in the dream? The one who can breathe underwater or forgive someone you haven't forgiven in real life. It's still you, just you without the editor, without the part of your brain that filters what's socially acceptable to feel. That's often why dream you cries more freely, loves more openly, or rages without apology. It's not a stranger wearing your face. It's the version of you that exists underneath all the composure you perform during daylight hours. There's something quietly humbling in all this. We spend our waking lives trying so hard to be composed, coherent, in control, and then every night, without fail, we hand that control over completely, and something in us still manages to process, heal, and make sense of things anyway. Maybe that's worth some grace. Maybe the chaos of your dreams isn't proof that your mind is messy, it's proof that your mind never actually stops trying to take care of you, even when you're not awake to thank it. So next time you wake up shaken from a strange dream or laughing at how absurd last night's plot was, try not to brush it off as meaningless static. Ask it a question instead. What was I actually feeling in there? What part of today snuck backstage and put on a costume? You might be surprised how often the answer says more about your waking life than you expected. If you've had a dream that still doesn't leave you alone, I want to hear about it. Drop it in the comments, however strange it sounds. And if you like exploring what your mind gets up to when nobody's watching, stay a while, because we've barely scratched the surface of what's going on in there.